It was late October of 2025 when one of the most anticipated games in years, Black Myth Wukong, dominated social feeds not for its jaw-dropping visuals or combat depth, but because it had been cracked just days after release, a title protected with modern DRM, yet overcome by persistent reverse engineers and crackers, sparking debates across gaming communities about security, ownership, and how software can be beaten no matter how advanced its defenses. Most players don't see this side of games, they see stores, icons, and loading screens, but beneath every executable, no matter how well protected, is raw logic running in binary, instructions that must be decrypted, decoded, and executed by your machine. Once those instructions exist in memory, they can be studied, understood, and even altered, whether by security experts analyzing them or by hackers exploring their limits. When people ask how hackers crack every single game, they imagine some mysterious underground wizard typing green code in a dark room, but the truth is much less dramatic and much more technical. A video game, no matter how beautiful or complex, is just software written by developers in languages like C++ or C# using engines such as Unreal or Unity. Inside the studio, the code is readable. Developers can see variables like player health, ammo count, or check license. But when the game is finished, that human-readable code doesn't ship to players. It gets compiled. Compilation turns it into machine code, raw instructions that your CPU understands but humans don't. The names disappear. The structure becomes assembly instructions like comparisons and jumps. However, even though the readable words are gone, the logic is still there. If the game needs to check whether you own it, that check must exist somewhere in the final binary. And if the game runs on your computer must process those instructions in memory. That's the core weakness. Software must reveal itself to execute. This is where DRM comes in. DRM is digital rights management, is simply a system designed to verify that you legally own the game. Older protections might just check a serial key or confirm a license once at startup. Modern systems like Denuvo go much further. They encrypt parts of the game, scramble logic paths, insert fake code, and constantly verify integrity while the game is running. Instead of checking ownership once, they check it repeatedly and hide the real logic under layers of obfuscation. They encrypt small pieces of code and decrypt them only at runtime. So crackers let the game run, and while it's running, they dump decrypted fragments from memory, not all at once, piece by piece, mission by mission, scene by scene. Then they reconstruct the executable from those fragments. That's modern cracking. And it can take weeks, sometimes months. But no matter how complex the protection is, the game must decrypt itself in RAM in order to function. Your CPU cannot execute encrypted nonsense. It needs real instructions, and once those instructions exist in memory, they can be analyzed. That's where reverse engineering tools come in. Not magical hacking programs, but analysis tools. Software like IDA Pro or G-Hydra can take compiled machine code and translate it into assembly or pseudo-readable structures so researchers can see how the program flows. Debuggers like X64DBG and OllyDBG allow someone to run the game in a controlled environment, pause it mid-execution, step through instructions one by one, and observe how it behaves when certain checks occur. Instead of guessing, they watch what the program actually does. If there is a condition that says, if license invalid, exit, that condition can be identified because it must exist logically for the program to enforce ownership. In very simplified terms, cracking often involves modifying the program so that those checks always pass. It's not brute force, it's analysis and patching. Game hacking, which people often confuse with cracking, works slightly differently but relies on the same foundation, memory. When a game runs, all of its temporary data, health, ammo, positions, timers, is stored in RAM. So developers find something called offsets, relative distances from the base address of the game. Instead of saying health is at 0x7FF, they say health is 0x150 bytes from the player structure. When updates happen, offsets break, so they update them. It's maintenance work more than hacking fantasy. Tools like Cheat Engine can scan memory for values that change during gameplay. If your health goes from 100 to 80, the tool searches for the value 80 and narrows down which memory address controls it. In single-player games where the data is stored locally, modifying that memory can change the outcome. In online games, however, important values like health are usually calculated on the server, which means changing your local memory won't affect the real game state. That's why modern cheats often focus on reading data rather than altering it. For example, reading enemy positions from memory to display them visually. But anti-cheat systems monitor for this behavior, scanning for unusual memory access, injected code, or suspicious tools running in the background. It becomes a technical arms race between protection systems and people trying to bypass them. At the center of all of this is a simple truth. Compiled software is not invisible. It may be harder to understand than source code, but it still follows logic. Developers write games in high-level languages. Those languages get compiled into machine instructions, and those instructions must execute in memory. Tools like disassemblers and debuggers allow skilled engineers, whether security researchers or attackers, to study that execution. Modern DRM systems like Denuvo try to make this study extremely difficult by encrypting and obfuscating code, but they cannot eliminate the fundamental requirement that the CPU must eventually see the real instructions. That unavoidable moment is where analysis becomes possible. So when someone asks how hackers crack every single game, the real answer isn't mystical at all. They don't guess the password. They don't magically unlock files. They analyze compiled logic, observe runtime behavior, identify protection checks, and modify how the program flows. It's not chaos, it's understanding. And the same tools used to break software are the same tools cybersecurity professionals use to protect it. In the end, it's not about hacking games. It's about understanding how software works at its lowest level, where everything is just instructions, memory, and logic. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.